Hey, hey, hey! You know what day it is. What's today? It's Tuesday Tea with D. Come on, Tuesday Tea with D. Come on, Tuesday Tea with D. Come on, Tuesday Tea with D. It's Tuesday Tea with D. You know, Tuesday Tea with D. Come on, Tuesday Tea with D. Come on, Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Hey boo hey, it's your girl, Detra Trueheart, your life purpose generator, purpose provoker, and your personal life coach, here with another week, another dose, another serving of Tuesday Tea with D. And I am super excited to share today's conversation with you. I won't get into all the details, but it came to me over the weekend, and it's really juicy because the story kind of has been unfolding, and I've been getting the downloads as I've been preparing to share with you. I hope you have had a great week. I hope you took some time to check out the last 2 weeks of Tuesday Tea with D, which were check your receipts and check God's receipts. And I think it's really important, again, as we are, in the last half of the year, second half of the year, and we are in the first month of the third quarter. And so we've got 3 months now, technically 2 months, because we are literally like less than 7 days from closing out July of 2023, depending upon when you are watching this. And, sometimes we need a refresher. Sometimes we need a reminder. Sometimes we need someone who can remind us to not only check our receipts, but to remind us to check God's receipts, because life has been lifing, people have been peopling, the world has been worlding, the money has been moneying, like all the things have been thinking, okay? And with all of that, sometimes we kind of forget. So if you have not checked out the last couple of weeks of Tuesday Tea with D, I want to encourage you to go out and go and check those, and then come back and check out today's conversation as well. And here's the other thing that I'm going to share with you. Oh, this is good. Okay, so sidebar. This is my Mango Tango tea. This is another loose tea that I got last year in not Savannah, in Hilton Head, South Carolina. And I did add a sugar. I have a mango sugar. So I added the mango sugar with the honey and the lemon with the Mango Tango tea, honey. We are mangoing over here. Oh! And it's interesting because I tasted the tea before we went live, but then I let it steep a little bit more. And honey, the mango is mangoing. It is so good. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to get a little bit more of that today. So, with that being said, I done lost my train of thought because that tea was so good. But today's conversation around it's called Show Up to Rehearsal. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But one of the things that I was saying before I took a sip of that good old tea is to make sure that you are watching these videos more than once. Right? It's kind of like, and I've used this analogy multiple times, but you ever watch a movie, you've seen it once, like it's really good, and you're like, ooh, like this is like great. But then you see it again and you realize like, oh shoot, like I don't remember seeing that, or I don't remember hearing that, or I don't remember that part in the movie. And I feel like it's the same way when you come back to watch these videos, or you come back to listen to them. And then the other part is sometimes when you come back to listen to them later on in the week, you hear with a different set of ears because you know what the message is, but you might be looking for something particular during the time that you're listening to it. Okay. So I really want you to take some time to listen to it multiple times. Like take some time to, yes, listen to it today, whenever you're listening to it, and then come back in like 2 or 3 days and listen to it again. And really just ask God to pull out, something else, or it's for you to, maybe you need to hear it again. Pull out what you need to hear again so that you can get on that road and get on that journey of, so that you can stop settling and show up for yourself, right? We're all about helping you to get out of your own way. So with that being said, I want to let you know that enrollment for iSpeaklife Live is going to be opening up this week. And so I'm going to put this here. And so the text message for my wait list went out already. And if you still want to get on the text list, you can. But let me just say that we are live and in full effect. And if you are on my email list, if you are on my general text messaging list, if you are a part of my Facebook group, that's like the next level of promotion as it relates to iSpeaklife Live. And so if you're a part of my paid communities, my incubator, my inner circle, private coaching clients, you already got access to that link, right? If you didn't, email me, send me an inbox. I'll send you the link so that you can register. I will say that VIP tickets are going to be sold out very soon. I believe there might be only 4 or 5 tickets left. And I can't guarantee that I'm going to open up or make available more tickets. And so I just want you to know, if you want exclusive access and extra access to me during those 3 days that we are going to be getting together. And technically it's like 4, because VIP gets together on Thursday evening before we kick off on Friday. And so if you want that access, in addition to being in the room with me, having lunch with me, getting special VIP privileges, then you're going to want to make sure you get your VIP ticket. I want to make sure I say that. So be on the lookout. If you're on my email list, if you're on my text messaging list, and if you're in the Facebook group, I want to let you know that you are the next up to get access to iSpeaklife Live, which is my 3-day transformational spirit-led experience for high-achieving, purpose-pursuing women of faith. Right. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that right now. I've been talking about it, and I'm going to continue to talk about it for the next 4 months, right? 4 to 5 months. So if this is your first time hearing about it, no worries, child. Listen, you'll be hearing a lot about it, and you'll have access to register very soon. And so when you see the information, when you see the link, just go ahead and register so that you can be in the room with me in December. And so I'm putting it out here publicly that I'm looking forward to inviting 100 women into the room. 100 women into the room. And so we are 25% of the way there. A little less than 25%, but we'll be 25% of the way there probably this week. And so the goal is to hit 100 women by December 1st. And not by December 1st, but by the time I close enrollment. So I hope that you are one of the women who will be joining me. If you are a man, maybe your sisters, your wife, your mom, whoever, the women in your life, send them to the website when it goes live so that they can register. All right. Let's have this conversation about showing up to rehearsal. And this first came to me, just make sure I have my notes here, because God has been downloading notes for me. And so some days I talk without notes, and some days I talk with notes. Some days I talk with like bullet points. And so today I kind of have some notes per se. And where this came about is I was thinking about how a lot of times people just think kind of like, and when you say like they were an overnight success, or somebody just showed up out of the blue and like just kind of were like knocking people like out of the water. They were, just taking over everything. And one of the stories I remember a few years ago was when Kevin Hart kind of just blew up. And people kind of thought he just blew up and he kind of just showed up out of nowhere. And he had not just shown up out of nowhere. There were like cover stories and blog posts and interviews where he talked about being in the game for 19 years before he hit it big. I want that to register. He had been in the game for 19 years, struggling, not having enough to eat, barely making ends meet. And, being in movies that the child nobody knew he was in until after the fact. And like, oh, shoot, that's Kevin Hart. I didn't even know that was him. And so one of the things the notes that I started writing down was what most people think just appeared was cultivated in private. What most people think just appeared was cultivated in private. And I have multiple things kind of going through my head right now where I'm even thinking about the harvest. And there's a saying that says, you don't reap the fruit. If you just sowed the seed, you're not going to reap the fruit tomorrow. And so a lot of times there's a lot of work that is being done behind the scenes. There's a lot of work that is being done under the dirt, in the mud, right? Before you actually see what has been cultivated in private, before you actually see the harvest that comes forth. When you see people excelling and showing up in public, that's not where they started, right? That's not where it was mastered. And so a lot of times we get frustrated, and I feel like there is this season of comparison, which be on the lookout. I'm going to be doing a masterclass on comparison next month. So I want you there. But for me, the challenge and the instruction for you today as your coach is to do the work in private so that when you show up in public, it will be as if you just appeared. And it's important that we practice in private so that we can produce in public, right? It is important that we make a commitment to practice and rehearse and study. It's important for us to remember that sometimes when you see a person shining, when you see a person excelling, when you see a person, doing their thing, a lot of times it has taken practice, it has taken rehearsal, it has taken trial and error, it has taken, opportunities to do, to try new and different things. And so a lot of times you will see a person who seems to be a success, right? Because you're just seeing them, not knowing the time and the hours that they spent showing up to rehearsal. Now, why did I name this show up to rehearsal? Well, if you don't know anything about me, I was a dancer for over 20 years. And one of the things that I learned over time is that you can be gifted in a thing, but you also have to recognize that it is important to show up to rehearsal, right? It is in rehearsal, and everyone, will say life is not a rehearsal, but there is a point in life where you are in rehearsal before you hit the stage. And so you learn in rehearsal. There's a saying that I used to teach my girls. I used to run a scholarship and enrichment program. It was a pageant called the Young Miss Buffalo pageant. And one of the things that I would tell them is that it's not in the fall, it's in the recovery. And most of you, if you follow me at any point in time, you've heard me say that. It's not in the fall, it's in the recovery. And my dance teacher used to say that. It's not in the fall, it's in the recovery. It's not in you messing up, it's in you getting back up. And specifically, he would say that when we were doing solos, because you'd be so upset that you messed up, like, oh my God, like I messed up. And he's like, child, don't nobody know the dance but you. Nobody knows the dance but you. And so if nobody knows the dance but you, if nobody knows the instructions that God is teaching you and giving you but you, if nobody knows, right, the path that you're on, if nobody knows what your coach is telling you behind closed doors, nobody knows that you messed up. It's you that then got to tell the folks, oh, I done messed up, and oh, I done this. And sometimes you don't have to say any of that, but that's another conversation. That's another conversation. But showing up means doing the work when no one sees you. It's doing the work that no one sees, right? Not only that they don't see you, but they don't see the work. Showing up means doing it full out at rehearsal, and being ready to do it full out on stage. One of the things that I used to tell my girls during the pageant is the way you do it in rehearsal is the way you're going to do it on stage. And so if you don't do it full out in rehearsal, you're not going to do it full out on stage. And my dance teacher used to tell me that. And so there was a point where what they would call it marking it, like just mark it. And so you just kind of go through, whatever you're doing, and it wasn't full out. And it wasn't until when he says, okay, now we're doing full out rehearsal. And so now your movements, right, are long and elongated, and you're doing it full out, because how you do it in rehearsal is how you're going to do it on stage. And if at any point in time he felt like we weren't doing it full out, honey, guess what? That music got cut and we had to do it again. And he's like, okay, well, that's not full out. And so I asked y'all to do it full out. And I would do the same thing to my girl. They would get mad. And I wouldn't always come into rehearsal and towards the end, because I had a team. And so I wanted them to see, I wanted them to work with the team. And then I would come in and kind of see how things are going. And then I say, okay, well, let me see what you got going on. Have you been practicing? Yes, no, you haven't. Because I could tell you haven't been practicing because you don't know. You don't know the lines to your poem. You don't know your dance. You haven't been practicing. Have you been practicing walking? No, you haven't been practicing because I don't see any improvement. I try to let the folks know that I am not new to this. I really am true to this. And so in every area of, as a coach and as an instructor, a teacher, an equipper, it's what I do. And so I can tell when you haven't been practicing. I can tell when you've been rehearsing the wrong thing. I can tell when you've been sitting on the sidelines watching everybody else as opposed to focusing on what it is that you're supposed to be focusing on. And so you're waiting for the right time to do it full out, but the time to do it when the time comes and when the right time comes, let me just say it like this, you're not ready. And so you want to get on stage. I'll give you an example. My son hates for me to correct him. He doesn't know his mother is a goat. Okay. I just listen that I have competed. I've won some things. I've accomplished some things. He thinks that I'm just mom. Like I'm boring. I just whatever. And so he had something coming up and I kept saying, okay, well, you need to be, practicing, get your stuff together. So, I know what I'm doing. And I said, okay. And so he gets to, his Kung Fu session and he has to do his performance, not a performance, but whatever they call it. And he messed up. And I looked the other way. I didn't look at him because he was upset and he was kind of like, because he thought, because he knew it, and he's good. Now, don't get me wrong. My baby is good. Okay. He's real good. But just because you're real good doesn't mean that you don't get to practice and that you're not supposed to practice, right? Just because you're gifted doesn't mean you don't have to show up to rehearsal. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to show up to practice. And it doesn't mean that you don't also have to do the work on your own, right? I've heard multiple people talk about like Kobe Bryant and Stephen Curry and how, the work was done during practice. The work was done after the game. The work was done before the game. The work was not done at the game. What we would see, right? The result of what was done during practice is what we saw during the game. And so for many of you, where you're seeing people on stage and where you're seeing people perform at their highest capacity and where you're seeing people perform in a way where you're like, man, I could never. Well, if you don't practice and if you don't show up to rehearsal, you're right. You could never. Gifted or not. Right? You being gifted doesn't exclude you from doing the work. You being gifted doesn't exclude you from showing up and making sure that you are perfecting your skill and perfecting your gift. And as God is stirring up the gift, you're doing your work to study to show yourself approved, right? And so this is why I'm telling you to show up to rehearsal, because there's some things that you're looking for, some results that you're looking for that you're not getting because you're not showing up to rehearsal. There's some results and some things that you want God to do, but you're not doing your part. And so you want God to produce a thing when there is no work done on your part. You're not showing up to rehearsal. Not only are you not showing up to rehearsal, you're not practicing at home, because the result of what you do at rehearsal is also the result of what you've been doing at home. I didn't even talk about that. Like there is it's a process, right? And so I'll use, for example, dancing for me. You learn the routine, right? You go over the routine. You go home to practice the routine. You practice the routine so that when you come back to rehearsal, if there are any mistakes that are being made, then your coach can correct the mistakes. Your dance teacher, coach, can correct the mistakes. And then so to help you get better in preparation for the performance. In preparation for you to show up on stage, in preparation for the competition, in preparation for the game, in preparation for that moment in life. See where I'm going? And so a lot of times people might even say to me, Detra, like, wow, like you speak so well and you do well behind the camera, or you do well when you're speaking in front of a crowd, or like, you just seems like it just comes naturally to you. And it does. Like I was gifted for this. But I also for one, I've been at it for over 30 years. I did my first pageant at 15, and I didn't even tell you all that I used to do pageants, but I used to do pageants. I did my first pageant at 15, and I retired at 24. And so that was over 20 years ago. And so I have been cultivating this gift of performing and speaking for a very long time. It is not just this overnight thing that most people think. And so there are some things that, yes, you're gifted at. It's the thing that God put in you, but you got to cultivate it. You got to show up to rehearsal. You have to do the work. When you get correction, you got to go back, and then you have to practice, and you have to make it better so that when the time comes, you're ready. When the time comes, you perfected that thing so well that, like Stephon Curry, you can shoot a three-pointer with your eyes closed, because you literally have been perfecting the gift day in and day out for multiple hours at a time. Yes, it requires work. Yes, it requires time. Yes, it requires energy. Yes, it may require even money. Those who, and I say this often, those who are excelling at the highest level that they can, they're also investing money to invest with the people who can help them show up in their greatest capacity. When I was doing pageants, I had an interview coach. And the crazy part is he was like this big white man who looked like Santa Claus. But let me tell you, honey, he coached me to win some titles. He was coaching a winner. He knew how to produce winners. And so don't be so caught up in what your coach looks like. Understanding, like, can your coach produce and help you produce the desired result that you're looking for? But you got to show up to rehearsal. I had to show up and meet and practice questions and do my research and study the questions and develop the way that I was going to approach, develop my own rhythm on stage. And so you got to show up to rehearsal. You cannot think that you're going to show up on stage and you're going to kill it. And let me just say, sometimes that does happen, but it doesn't happen at some point in time. You got to show up to rehearsal. And the one thing that I think is important, and I'm going to close out with this, is that people who think that they don't need to show up to rehearsal exemplify a form of pride. There's a sense of haughtiness, right? A lack of humility, as if you're the only one in the game, as if there is no one else in the game, the show or the plan, as if those people are not important, right? And understanding that you are not the only piece to the puzzle. There are other people and other factors to consider: timing, teamwork, cohesiveness, rhythm, consistency. And so, yes, it may be your time, but you have to show up to rehearsal to make sure that the music is good, to make sure the sound is good, to make sure, specifically talking about me as a dancer, and I was a tap dancer, to make sure that I could practice on the floor, to make sure that my shoes were good. So there are different pieces. So it's not just your gifting that you are sharpening, you're bringing all of the pieces together to make sure that when you show up, and then there comes a point in time where you go from rehearsing in just your rehearsal clothes to going into full rehearsal with the outfit and the makeup and all of the things that you're going to wear, to make sure that what you wear is not a distraction. You can move just so, like, all of that happens so that if something falls off, it can be sewn on before the performance happens, before you show up. And so there are going to be some kinks. There are going to be some moments where some of the sequins might fall off in life. There might be some moments where your tap comes off of your tap shoe in life. There might be some moments where the music cuts off in the middle of the performance. And have you practiced to the point of where you know the music in your head that you can keep going without the music? I remember those days. And that's the point of practicing. That's the point of running through it so much that it is ingrained in you, that literally, like, sometimes you are eat, sleeping, and drinking this specific area of your life, because you know that it depends, your performance and how well you do, it depends on it. And so again, I want to encourage you and challenge you as your coach to show up to rehearsal. And if you need a coach to help equip you so that you can be ready for that moment during rehearsal. You need a coach during rehearsal. Let's have a conversation. Stop thinking that you can. There's some stuff you can't do on your own. There's some stuff you can't see it while you're in it. You need somebody who can see from the outside looking in to be able to coach you and give you a different perspective, because while you're in it, you're too emotionally connected to it. And so there's no way for me to be able to watch myself dancing and critique myself at the same time. I needed somebody else to be able to watch what I was doing and then give me the critiques and the strategies to be able to make my performance top notch. And so I want to encourage you, and I'm going to put this up here. I want to encourage you to book a call with me. And I'm right down here, 30-minute get acquainted session. I am still booking private coaching clients. I have 3-month and 6-month packages available at $5,000 and $7,500. And so if you want to have a conversation around what that looks like, go to TrueheartSpeaks.as.me/get unstuck. That's TrueheartSpeaks.as.me/get unstuck. And let's have a conversation, right? Because what you desire requires an investment. It requires a financial investment, but it also requires an investment of your time, an investment of your focus, an investment of your consistency, an investment of your energy. And so you can't keep saying that you want to show up in a specific way, but you're not willing to make the investment. You're not willing to show up to rehearsal. You're not willing to be coached. You're not willing to be corrected. You're not willing to be given the strategies and the tools and the resources to really sometimes to be challenged in a way that you are not going to challenge yourself. There are some conversations you're not going to have with yourself. There are some statements that you would make to somebody else that you won't make to yourself because you're too emotionally connected to it. And so I want to encourage you to go to TrueheartSpeaks.as.me/get unstuck. Book your call, 30-minute call. Let's have a conversation. Let's see how I can support you. If 3 or 6 month coaching is not what you're looking for, I have other options. But I also just want to see where you are, right? Stop assuming that you can do this thing on your own. You can't. Me winning multiple trophies as a dancer and as a pageant contender, I was not able to do that on my own. I have multiple coaches. The space that I'm in now, I'm not able to do on my own. I have multiple people in my circle, coaches, mentors, advisors, who are helping me to show up at my highest capacity. And so I hope today was really good. Like, this was a really good conversation. I feel like I could go on and teach for even longer. There's so much more that I could share, but, and I have a feeling that I'm going to probably talk a little bit more about this in December at iSpeaklife Live. So you're going to want to be there. But it really, really, really is important for you to keep your eye on what it is that you're supposed to be doing. Stop comparing yourself to everybody else and get in rehearsal. Stop comparing yourself to everybody else and start practicing. Stop comparing yourself to everybody else and do the work. Okay? So lastly, make sure you share this. Right? Make sure you like, comment, share. Make sure you save this to come back to. Make sure you watch it and then watch it again. I'm sure I'm going to come back and watch my own stuff again, because I'll be watching it not as the person who actually shared it, but as somebody who is getting poured back into, right? There's some nuggets that I hear myself saying that I'm like, oh, girl, you need to come back and listen to that. Even I listen to my own stuff. So let me take a sip of this good old tea. This is good. All right. So let's take a deep breath and process this and ask yourself, what areas of your life do you need to show up for the rehearsal or show up to rehearsal? Have you not been showing up to rehearsal? And then ask yourself, do you need a coach to coach you along in the areas that you have not been showing up, right? In the way to help you in the ways that maybe you need to show up in a greater capacity. Because again, there are some things that you are not going to see that your coach will be able to see and give input and impartation to that you're just not going to be able to do on the inside of it. So with that being said, make sure you share this with 5 people. This right here was good. Make sure you share this with 5 people. And let them know, like, child, get ready, put your seatbelt on, because she was talking good during this conversation. And then also comment below and let me know how this spoke to you today, right? How are you going to show up to the rehearsal? Are you ready to show up to the rehearsal, or are you just thinking like you're just going to show up and be good, and you have not practiced, and you have not rehearsed, and you've not had feedback, and you have not been challenged even to step yourself up to a higher capacity, right, than what you are, right? Sometimes, and this is the last thing, I would be in rehearsal and they would say, okay, well, I need you to take it a little bit further. Like, I need you to do it even more full out, because that's not as full out as you can do. And I would get mad, like, it is. And it's like, no, it's not. I need you to listen to the music. I need you to embrace what the music is saying. I need you to put yourself in this space, and then I need you to come out. And then all of a sudden something will come out that I didn't know was in me. That's the power of a coach. That's the power of a coach, right? And so with that being said, I hope today was really good. I feel like today was a little bit longer than normal, but it was a necessary conversation. This could have been a masterclass, but you're getting this for free, right? So until next time, oh God, this is so good. Until next time, I will see you. Enjoy today's tea, and have an amazing week. And I will see you next time on Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D.